Well, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. The U.S. President Donald Trump has called on all NATO countries to stop buying Russian oil and gas, tying U.S. sanctions on Russia to European compliance and putting political pressure on Hungary, Slovakia, and Turkey. Now, to explore the implications of this move on Europe's energy security, we're joined now by Daniel Czyżewski, energy analyst from Polska Natury Foundation. Good to have you back on TVP World. Thanks for coming by.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So let's see what he has said here. Donald Trump has said it must be conditional. All NATO members have to stop Russian oil and gas imports. How realistic is this?
Well, on one hand, Donald Trump is consequent in its remarks on Europe's dependence on Russian energy resources. He was the first one to call out Europe, and especially Germany, in 2018 for buying a lot of Russian gas. Then we remember the now historic photo of Heiko Maas, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Germany, that he laughed during United Nations meeting when Donald Trump said that. And well, Donald Trump was right, because Vladimir Putin, Russia, used Europe's dependence on Russian gas to basically start the economic war with Europe in 2022. So Donald Trump, on one hand, is consequent, but on the other, Europe basically almost stopped buying Russian energy resources. We have sanctions, which started very quickly after Russian invasion to Ukraine. And now we fell as European Union from 71 billion euros worth of buying Russian oil in 2022 to around estimated 3 billions in 2025. So it's almost nothing. And the other dimension of that is the last countries in Europe that are buying Russian oil are Hungary and Slovakia. So Donald Trump really should be talking to, as I understand, his friend Viktor Orban to stop buy Russian oil. Of course, Slovakia and Hungary are landlocked countries. They don't have access to the sea. They have hard time buying oil from other directions than Russia. But there is a case of Czech Republic, which were with Hungary and Slovakia out of sanctions when the European Union imposed them on Russia. But Czech Republic built its connection. They started in 2022. They built connection with port in Trieste in Italy. And now, around a year ago, they completely stopped buying Russian oil. So if Hungary and Slovakia really wanted to stop buying Russian oil, they could have done it, but apparently they didn't.
Right, so it comes back to political will. At the same time, you mentioned other countries. Of course, that is now all decreased. In Europe, the EU has a roadmap, right? We want to phase out all Russian oil and gas 2027 and then 2028. Looking at that timeline now, and now this latest statement here, you mentioned Hungary and Slovakia, indeed, but then we still have certain clients from certain Russian resources in oil and gas. If we look at Belgium, still to a large extent, the Netherlands as well, France. So, I mean, these countries haven't reduced it as much. So shouldn't there be pressure on them as well?
Yes, there should. And the European Commission proposed new sanctions, 18th package, if I remember correctly, to stop buying Russian LNG. Because that has been issue since Europe imposed sanctions on Russian pipeline gas. Russia, on the other hand, started rebuilding its export capacity since early 2000s and wanted to switch the pipeline export to Europe to LNG export. But hopefully the sanctions will be imposed on LNG also, because it's also, as a pipeline gas, it provides Russia with a lot of money. And Europe is on its way to stop buying Russian LNG as well. It's really important, as you mentioned, those countries are buying still Russian LNG. I think that they are buying them they will be buying them to the last moment when it's impossible. When it's possible to buy that, because Russian gas is still cheap. Of course, it comes with the price of lives in Ukraine and danger to Europe's security.
But overall, I mean, if we look at Trump's statement, this condition, 100% NATO members must all now stop this. I mean, that doesn't just include European Union members. That also includes, if we're looking at Turkey. And as far as I know, Turkey is, I think, increased by about 105% Russian oil imports. I mean, how realistic is that Turkey would listen to this latest call by Trump?
Well, I think Turkey won't stop buying Russian oil. The call from President Trump is impossible to implement, because even without Turkey, the Hungary and Slovakia would have to build the connection. Of course, it's not a rocket science, it's a pipe, it's a big pipe. We have all pipes in our homes. It's a big pipe to be laid down to some port in Europe to expand the capacity of imports. It would take a couple of years. Czech Republic done it in 3 years. So it would take a couple of years. Turkey has no political will to do that. Hungary and Slovakia also, but even if they would have political will, it would take a couple of years. So I read it that President Trump doesn't want to impose new sanctions on Russia.
And also mentioning Hungary and Slovakia and all this, and you said there is potential. They have an out, as you said. The Czechs did it in a way. I know that the connection is also through this Adria pipeline, which could be one of those alternatives. So is this now, given what Trump has said, is this going to be that political pressure from a friend, if we call him that, from Donald Trump on Viktor Orban and Mr. Fico? Will they now spurn into building a different pipeline and access, or is this going to just drag on in a divergence?
Well, that's a good question. I think that this call from President Trump is an excuse not to impose sanctions on Russia. Of course, Hungary and Slovakia could build the connection or expand the Adria connection. It has small capacity to meet the needs of those countries, to small capacity. But it would take a couple of years. I don't know if Europe have a couple of years more to stop buying Russian energy resources and to wait to stop giving money to the Kremlin.
Yeah, and speaking of money, I think it was also touted that Orban has mentioned that there's cheaper Russian gas. This is better for the economy, but actually, it's not really the case, is it? I mean, now importing any sort of Russian gas and oil is actually more expensive, or is it cheaper now if they would switch into other forms, through the Czechs or through the Adria pipeline? Where's the cost point here for them?
Of course, on paper, if you're an accountant, Russian oil and gas are cheaper. They were cheaper in the first place. That's why Germany and other European countries came up with an idea to import cheap Russian gas, to build entire energy system, Europe's energy system, around cheap Russian gas. On paper, it's of course cheaper. If you're an accountant, you should buy only Russian gas and oil. But if you are a politician, if you are realistic and know what Russia is, you should never do that, because the money goes to the Russian budget and then goes to military, and then Russia invades other countries.
And also back to President Trump's statement, in a way he's kind of pushing the responsibility back on Europe without himself taking actions. We're all kind of expecting he would also be tougher on Russia now. So do you see this more as an incentive by his, or more inaction which will just prolong everything here? How do you see it?
Well, I see it as an excuse not to sanction Russia, because, okay, symbolically, the complete stop of Russian oil import to Europe would have some significance. Of course, 0 barrels, 0 euros, 0 tons. But now, as it's estimated that in 2025 Europe will import 3 billion euro worth of Russian oil, it really doesn't matter. Realistically, economically, financially, it doesn't matter, because 3 billion euros in energy world, it's like you would lost or find 20 zlotys on the street. And even if it would came down to 0, Russia would easily switch the export to India or China, to small province really in India or China. and they wouldn't even notice that.
But I suppose what we can impact here, and we can't do so much with Turkey, but with Hungary and also with Slovakia, just now moving forward in conclusion here, I mean, do they have the political will? No. The capacity takes time. So how do you think it's going to play out for Hungary and Slovakia after this statement?
Hungary and Slovakia, it seems that they don't want to stop Russian import of oil, and they won't stop having some relations with the Moscow. So I think nothing will happen, really. Nothing will happen, and those countries will still buy Russian oil. But again, it doesn't really matter if they stop.
All right, so we'll see. I mean, Donald Trump has now, let's say, put the pressure on. Let's see if anyone will react, but we'll see how it unfolds. Look, Daniel Czyżewski, appreciate your time here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching World Talks, but stay tuned. Much more coming up right here on TVP World. Goodbye.